Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the GSS Fireside Chat. My name is Andrew Fairman, and tonight we will be talking about a very important topic that is dear to my heart. We have an interesting discussion lined up for you tonight, and I have two amazing panelists who will be sharing their expertise as it relates to this particular topic tonight. We will be discussing crafting a winning resume. And we all know that if we're going to secure that job, it's important to craft a winning resume. We really want to look at it from various angles tonight, from an entry level standpoint, a middle manager standpoint, but also, you may be a C-suite that also wants to craft your resume. We will be talking about all of that tonight. Please share the live. Don't forget that the global services sector is booming with opportunities in business process outsourcing, knowledge process outsourcing, IT outsourcing as well. So there is a vast array of opportunities that are available to you. And so this is an important topic so that you can grab hold of those opportunities. I have two amazing panelists tonight who I'm interested in. It's exciting to have them on. I have Daniel Stewart and Christopherson Nunez. I'll first take this opportunity to welcome and introduce Daniel. So, Daniel Stewart is an employee relations and conflict management specialist. She honed her skills in HR over the last 17 years while driving individual and organizational focus to industrial relations, interpersonal dynamics, and career development. Daniel is a certified relationship and job coach who uses her background in law and sociology to work through the rights, ethics, obligations, and interests that often underpin employee relations. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Daniel.
Hi, Andrew. How are you?
I'm great. Great having you. Great having you. I also have tonight Christopherson Nunez, who is the co-founder of Yuka Caribbean. Christopherson is a dynamic youth marketing, well, Yuka Caribbean, sorry, is a dynamic youth marketing agency that provides valuable economic opportunities for tertiary students while offering headhunting, recruitment, virtual casting, and talent management services to clients. Christopherson's impressive accomplishments have earned him commendations and awards in the industry, such as the Creative Business Cup and the Prime Minister's Youth Award for Excellence nomination. Today, Christopherson is focusing on the Career Doc, an AI-based career social enterprise that empowers job seekers and professionals to achieve their full potential. With his diverse skills, extensive knowledge, and passion for driving change, Christopherson is a rising star in entrepreneurship and innovation, poised to make an even greater impact in the years to come. So let's welcome Mr. Nunez as well.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. It's a really pleasure to be invited on the panel as well. Big up Andrew with the support he has been doing with his company, and it's a pleasure to meet Daniel Stewart as well. So I'm glad to look forward to the discussion.
Great. Welcome, Daniel Stewart. Welcome, Christopherson Nunez. And you've both have seen the topic, crafting a winning resume, and how important that is to a job seeker. So let's start off. I'll just throw this one out. I'll have the lady go first, Daniel, by just sharing with us tonight, why is it important to craft that winning resume? Or why is it important to even focus on ensuring that you're putting on the right resume?
Well, I mean, when you're as old as I am, right? You know that recruitment has changed dramatically. over the last couple of years, right? So personnel, where my mother's era of HR coming from, would have been much more fluid in how they operate. But now that recruitment has spanned off into its own element, it's taken its own space within HR. It has become so targeted, so focused, and in many cases, high volume as we interact with contact centers, BPO, knowledge process outsourcing, and in that way, then the resume is the only tool you have to make yourself stand out. It's the first touch to the recruiter, right? So it's really important to make sure that at first touch the recruiter is getting the information they need. You've presented yourself in a way that makes you come across as valuable, and that makes you obviously a candidate that the recruiter would want to be interested in, even if it's not for that role in particular.
Absolutely, absolutely. Christopherson, you're muted.
Everything Daniel said. So let's give it context, right? You know, it's really about your story, your professional story on paper. It's a tool that really describes who you are professionally, what have you been doing in a couple of years, couple of months past, and what experiences, qualification that's almost transferable to this new company that's looking on your portfolio, or your resume. And of course, it shows not exactly what you've done, but what I would say skill sets or skill assets you bring to this new company. So able to show value, you're able to know bring whatever you've compound with, or even just a sense of attitude that hey, I am a dynamic learner, but you're essentially using this tool of the resume to cut through all the noise during the application process. You want it to be the one that stands out to get their attention, so it makes it easy now for them to shortlist you for an interview. Because at the end of the day, while they're applying, thousand other persons are applying for the job. So at the end of the day, you just want your resume to stand out. It helps you with the recruitment. It helps maybe from an assurance standpoint that you're not wasting your time. You don't feel like you're not worthy, but have a good resume stands out and it's helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I'm pretty sure that both of you review maybe hundreds of resumes on a daily, weekly basis. And one thing that I come to understand is that a lot of times job seekers, undervalue the importance of putting that resume together. That well put together resume. Can we talk a little bit about what impression you're creating when you just put out a resume like that? And sometimes too, when you just quickly put a resume together, it's not well done. You've created an impression that is really very difficult for you to even move forward, when a recruiter probably would have already seen this resume and would have already made a decision about you as a candidate. So what are some of the implications, or what are some of the impressions that you're creating when you're putting out a resume that is not crafted properly? I'll
Sure.
start. Go ahead.
So we have to assume that we don't know what is a resume, right? So not everybody had I would say, the privilege of knowing what's a resume. And I mean by that is during my high school, I learned it through a class called personal development. It wasn't part of the CSEC portfolio, but the the dean of disciplines decided that hey, a personal development curriculum for us in fifth form, fourth form was ideal. And I didn't think that, and I thought it was a normal thing across the high schools, to be honest. And I said privilege because it wasn't a topic that was discussed in depth, especially for young high school persons entering the workforce. So, with the lack of information, most times they're just following some basic templates on the internet. Maybe they're misguided in terms of what a good resume look like.
Yeah.
Maybe they just slapdash something on a piece of paper, hopefully that the recruiter is seeing it, or maybe just put something on paper because they're getting a link to a job, just to have something legitimate. But most times it's really a complex thing where a lot of persons don't know. So we have to educate them instead of just starting with the implication, but educate them in terms of what it looks like. So the implication naturally would be it's hindering you from a job opportunity that you believe you could get. And most times the implication is you're underselling yourself market wise to an employer, and the underselling is really now you not getting your true compensation worth. You know, naturally it's like any market. If you know that you're worth $100, but you sell the goods for $10, you literally lost $90 off the table. So think of your professional offering to an employer like that, with the implication that your resume crafts that story.
Okay, great. Daniel?
I tend to agree. Um, I though think of it sometimes from the recruiter's perspective, because I think that sometimes as a candidate we get very high in self-orientation about the process, because you're nervous and you want the job and you want this experience, etc., etc. And so a lot of the times we are focused on what is happening to us through the experience, and I think we don't shed a lot of light on what a recruiter who is recruiting for one role going through 1,000 resumes is experiencing, right? It's a lot of work, it's very time consuming, a lot of details in the middle. And so because of that, if the resume falls short, it's very easy for you to
Yes.
get passed over, because I am looking for a candidate with a specific skill set. I'm looking for a candidate who probably has a wow factor. I'm looking for let's say even for some of those jobs that are in the creative space, right? Then I'm looking for the candidate who has the most creative CV, something that looks akin to a portfolio. So to also tailor it to what it is that you're going after matters in terms of making yourself stand out to a recruiter, because at the end of the day, this is not a machine that is going through your CV. Well, I mean, apart from when you're going on LinkedIn and LinkedIn say, these are the 3 questions. If you don't answer them, you fail out. When you get to the stage of interacting with a recruiter, this is somebody who is trying to gauge you through that piece of paper, and you only have one shot.
Yes, yes. You only have one shot of creating that
That
um,
first impression, yeah.
that first
Yeah.
impression. Definitely. What I also find is that entry level applicants, they tend to not pay a lot of focus on, well, not everybody, so let me not generalize, but some tend to not pay a lot of focus on crafting that resume because they lack the self-confidence. They feel that, I don't have the CXC, or I don't have the bachelor's, or I don't have the qualifications. So let me just throw something out there. But regardless, as Christopher mentioned, they need to be educated. You may not have the degree, you may not have the CXCs, but do you have the experience? So it's really putting all of that together in a professional, need, clearly defined, detailed way, so that you can win an interview. Um, my next question, and I don't want us to talk about, the telephone number needs to be here and your address needs to be there. I think that's basic. We know that you must have your contact information for the recruiter to talk to you. But can we talk about it a little bit deeper in terms of, we talk about the importance of the resume, and we talk about some of the negative impacts if it's not created professionally, if it's not done a particular way. But can we now look at some of the things that must be included in a resume, separate and apart from your contact information and all of that? What are some major, um, what you say now, milestones that must be included? I'll start with Daniel and then I come to Christopher, sir.
For me, there are two things, regardless of the role or the stage in that person's career. So yes, you must have the qualifications and the schooling and it's all of that stuff. But what's really important for me is that first opening statement. And I'm not talking about opening statement that says I want to, make a meaningful contribution to your organization. But that opening statement that tells me what your wins have been so far, because it tells me automatically before I drill down into the qualifications and what school you went to, it tells me right off the top, these are my successes, these are my areas of strength, and then I'm tying that back into what it is I'm looking for in that particular job description. And as a matter of fact, outside of that job description that I'm looking at, it may just call to mind one I was dealing with yesterday. So you applied for one, but now I can consider you for another because you started off with your wins and your successes. And then the other thing too is to have the pertinent experiences. So not all your experiences are pertinent to the job that you're going for. So especially for my C-suite friends, if the resume is 7 pages long, just thumbs it down and put the pertinent
Yes,
experiences.
yes, yes. Christopherson, yes, your take.
So for me, I think I have a we have a work framework at the career doc, right? So whenever we're doing resumes, we have three framework that we speak about: the work experience, the skill sets, and the qualification. Those are the main things, the three main things that we believe we have, and then how we drill down for each is starting with the work experiences, right? So we have something called the three R's. The role, the responsibilities, and the results. So, what is the role of the company you've worked in the past, or any involvement with a school wise, any extracurricular activity, any leadership? What's the responsibility, meaning that what were you accountable for? Whether you were, let's say, you were a marketing intern and you were in charge of, writing reports and all that stuff, very admin support stuff. However, the key part a lot of persons miss out is the results. What key impact of you doing that role give to the company? Did it help with from an admin support to the marketing intern? Did it help the company increase their revenue stream? Save costs, increase brand awareness based off the objectives of the company or your project line. But at the end of the day, that missing R, the result is key. It could be quantifiable based off some percentage of some statistic that, hey, you have a retention rate of 99% with customers type of thing. But those critical elements are the missing part. A lot of persons tend to just write the job description of their previous role and then call it a day. But you have to synergize it in a way to show, while you were there, what did you do to impact the other facets of the company? That's the first thing, work experiences. Then skill sets. We try to divide skill sets between soft skills and technical skills. And I believe everybody have skills whether they know it or not, right?
Yeah.
Some of these skills we didn't even think about it as skills. So, for example, we would do somebody's resume and let's say they did customer service. Now they go up the ranks as operation support, and maybe they're moving into a different a different industry, maybe finance. And to us, we try to plot the gray areas of skill sets. So yes, customer service is there, but you have skills of empathy. Maybe you have admin support skills. Maybe you have skill sets that ties into other areas that helps you as an individual. So I call it skills asset building, right? How you're building your skills asset at the end of the day and trying to create a cocktail that to say, hey, with my perfect mixture of skill sets, this is my value. And like I said, it's technical or soft skills. Technical could be along the lines, I believe, or we believe, the type of day-to-day usage. It could be technology, it could tools, it could be anything. And think about how often do you use them and their skill sets, right? For example, a couple years ago, the thought of paying somebody to tweet was so absurd, but now persons have paid millions of social media just to tweet on a public figure's behalf or a company's behalf, and that's a skill set that somebody built on by randomly and maybe on their own dime, tweeting them personally, and they kind of learn the trends and what to create engagement. But you don't learn that in a classroom. You get me? That's skill sets. And then last, the education. We try to get deeper into the education element, but we'll give it a way that will start with us most recent. Whether it's a traditional route of bachelor's, high school diploma, and or certificates or short
Yeah.
courses done, and get into the meat where I show, from chronological order what's most recent. So let's start from 2023 going back in time, right? And showing maybe, for example, in high school, kind of give a synopsis of the subjects you did. You don't need to list all of them, but a synopsis. Same way, maybe if you've done a bachelor's in integrated marketing, you don't want to just say, hey, a bachelor's in integrated marketing, but we like to show that, hey, you've covered relevant courses, including but not limited to at least one to two of them or three to four of them, just to give them context of what your program involved. right? And then give them context where they could say, this person is exposed to XYZ. So at the end of the day, is you using this tool of creating your own mixture of cocktail, and then sell it currently.
Awesome, awesome. I really love the tips that you shared a while ago, Christopher, and also Daniel. And I really hope that the viewers are tuning in and learning. I particularly like the suggestion about results. Employers are looking for A players, whether you believe it or not, a mom and pop shop, a huge company, everybody, whether they can afford it or not, every company is looking for A players. And how do you show up as an A player is by putting that results, I was here from the X to X, and these were my results. So I hope that we're really paying attention. I really love that one. Um, my next question is, how can a job seeker ensure that their resume capture the attention of recruiters? I think we touched on it a little bit, but I want us to delve a little bit deeper in that, because it's a fierce game. It's a fierce game. And so we don't have a lot of time as job seekers to capture the attention of the recruiter. So Daniel, what are some things you would suggest that job seekers consider when they need to capture the attention of a recruiter?
So there are two things that stand out for me, above others. I think that job seekers definitely need to pay keen attention to the industry or the particular role that they're applying for. Because, for example, when I'm looking for a graphic artist, I want to see the creative. I want to see, a little shading in the paper, a little stylized. I want to see them using different fonts. I want to see what they're bringing my attention to and dragging it away from. But that's really different from if I'm looking for a financial controller, right? So I think that it's really important to try and decipher the tone of the organization that you're applying to, research it, look at the environment, try to figure out the culture, and then act appropriately. Because you have a lot of job seekers there that are putting out resumes with fancy headshots and drama, but the job is not one that operates in that
Yes.
space. You understand? And so for the recruiter, it can be very off-putting. And when you do that, it distracts sometimes the attention from the actual information that you have on the paper that is actually super relevant to the role. So now I've passed you over because you didn't look at the culture of the organization and you didn't look at the features of the function to determine if I'm looking for form, function, creativity, that type of thing, to know the tone of the presentation, not just the information. And the second thing for me, without fail, attention to detail. If your resume is full of mistake, me don't bother want talk to you. You understand? Because attention to detail is necessary for absolutely every job function. If you are missing critical information, if you're having typographical
Yes.
errors, if you're having commas where full stop should be, I cannot, especially the higher up the chain that
Yes.
you're trying to apply to. Really and truly, if especially too in technical roles, legal, IT, or you're applying to work in a printry or in media, why are there errors on the resume as a presentation of who you are as the first step in our relationship? I'm not about it. Sorry.
Yes, banking as well, because it's about attention to detail. And I can
Exactly.
tell you, I'll share an example and then I'll go to Christopherson. I passed up recently a very, very good candidate because she had an error. Well, the resume wasn't attractive enough. And after passing the resume up, I went back to the person who referred the candidate, and I said, "Can I get the resume?" And she said, "But I sent it to you." And I said, "Well, no, I can't find it." Not even realizing that that was the candidate, because there was an error on it. And so I went back, and the person said, "This is the name." I went back and I realized that this is the candidate. So I said, "Okay." Please make the necessary changes. The person got the job and the person is doing exceptionally well. And if it wasn't, really going back to the referral, that good candidate would have been just passed up simply because of that error, just to echo what you mentioned. So that's important. Christopher said.
Boy, I don't know what to say because Daniel took everything still. But it's true. You have to know the tone of the industry. And I can give an example. So when we were running UC at a different office, we had sent out a job description, say, hey, we wanted a marketing intern, right? We circulated around different platforms and different job boards, and one application stood out, meaning that somebody sent a physical application, right?
Mhm.
They sent a box, and within the box, it had a shoe in it, and the shoe said, "At least I got my foot in the door," and it had their resume as well attached to the shoe, and that stood out for us because we were a marketing company that wanted to do these type of engaging things for brands.
Yes,
So
yes.
you have to know the tonality of your industry you're applying for. Same breath, if you're a graphic designer, have a portfolio, have a mock website of what you do. If you're a programmer, have some form of apps or small projects you can show persons or any type of development. And it's having different facets of portfolio depending on what you've done, right? Most industries, your portfolio could be past clients. What are the referral basis of those past clients? How do they speak about you? Um, and you think about your portfolio, it could be a lot of things, right? So at the end of the day, knowing the tonality of the industry is important. And you want to cut through that noise at the end of the day because everybody's applying. Everybody want to work, everybody want to save, everybody want to house, car, land, all these things. So, and it takes money for these things, right? But at the end of the day, similarly, if you're going to a company and even the front of the place look shabby and disgusting and horrible to enter, you don't feel comfortable doing service with them. So similar breath, you want to kind of flip the script. If your resume doesn't look any way appealing, people don't want to do business with you. You know.
Yes. Yeah.
So think about it like that. But nonetheless, the main thing is know the tonality of the industry.
Good. Awesome. Awesome. What say you about the professional summary or we get a lot of resumes with objective and or professional summary. What's your take on on that? Because I have my own opinions about it.
Yeah.
Um, so what's your take on that? I'll go to you, Christopher, and then I'll go to Daniel.
Sure. So I believe the job market itself is very complex, right? There's no one size fit all. So what works for a different company could work for another.
Yes.
Generally, I believe the professional summary gives a great snapshot of what you've done, the skill sets, and the what you want to bring to the table. It's like quick punches to get to the point of what you're doing. Generally, I think the objective of or having an objective is kind of not say redundant, but double sided, meaning that the fact that you have a resume means that you want a job. So the fact that it exists, you say you want a job, so it doesn't have to say, oh, this objective is to get a meaningful. We know that the fact that it exists kind of communicates that. However, given it using the spaces you have, the limited time you have, swap that objective out for the professional summary. That's what we believe. And I use a professional summary as your three quick punches. It could be the highlight of your education, the major wins in your career, and the top three skills you come with here. And that could be it. And if you want help, ask ChatGTP to kind of emphasize it and make it more personable. But we have tools to use it at our disposal. Back in the day, people used to use a typewriter. Now we have this thing that can type for us. So evolution comes with change, and of course, with
Yeah.
time, you can send out multiple resumes at once. We could literally schedule emails while we're sleeping at the end of the day, or schedule ahead of time type of thing. So while you're at the supermarket, maybe emailing, sending out different resumes to different companies, based on you doing like an hour work previously. You get what I mean? Kind of doing that background. But it's just to say that it depends on the concept.
Good. Yes. Thank you so much, sir. Daniel.
I I tend to agree in terms of the professional summary where we started. I really want to know your successes and how that's applicable, and what the transferable skills are that you might have to bring to the table. So definitely for me, I like the professional summary or statements, any little thing like that. But from the objective now feels, I feel like when I say an objective, I kind of can guess the age of the candidate, because the candidate is
Mhm.
either very young or very mature, because it's coming from a particular school of thought,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think I don't think of it necessarily as redundant, but a little bit outdated and also very generic. So yes, you're telling me that you want a job, but within the objective, I don't mind an objective that was really well thought out. You really went and researched the company and decided what you want to be your mission within this organization. But those that are just random statements about why you need a work, I don't find any value add in that being at the top of the resume. I don't find no value add in it. Probably if you go a little deeper now and say, well, I want to work in this organization because I'm a specialist in branding, and thus far your branding campaign has been top notch, blah, blah. I don't mind that. Don't love it, don't mind it. But the generic, I want to add value to your organization and contribute to the society, uh, there's no value add for me.
Okay, good, good. So, what are some of your top do's? I'm going to ask you, Daniel, about the do's, and then I come back to Christopherson and ask him about the don'ts. So, when we're talking about crafting a resume, what are some of your top do's that you'd always recommend a job seeker to include in his resume?
Um, I would say clear and concise,
Hmm.
clear, concise information. I don't really need you to list me the entire job description of every single job you've ever gone through. I really do need the things that are applicable to the role or applicable to the industry, at least. Um, and I need a lot of clarity. I would say again, accuracy in your information, accuracy in your English language, in your grammar. That's important for me, and things that are applicable. Applicability is a big deal for me. So if you're a young job seeker and you don't have a lot of experience, what I tend to tell people is think about your transferable skills, right? Think about the things that you have done that have some kind of bearing on this role. You might not think of it as a job. So if you teach Sunday school and you're applying to be a teacher, I don't mind if you tell me on your resume that you teach Sunday school, because it means you have the transferable skills to be a teacher in a basic school. If you volunteer somewhere, put that on the resume. So think about the transferable skills and highlight those skills where you don't have previous experience. Highlight those things and put them to the forefront. But always make sure that what is the information that is presented on the resume is applicable to the industry, to the situation, to the job, and that is not just a random bunch of information that you're throwing at me, especially for those of us who have experience. I don't need the entire 17 to 30 years of your experience. I just need, give me the last five, give me the last three, give me the last set that tells me how you're gonna make this role a winning role inside a winning organization.
Good, good. And that would have been my follow-up question to you, because sometimes when you've worked with whoever for the last umpteen years, you're not sure what to take off, and you felt that you've done so much that you don't want to take off anything. You're just comfortable having a 15-page resume. You feel so accomplished. But how many years you think they should go back? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 15 years?
I wouldn't say that is a number of years, because I've been doing HR for 17 years. And there are
Yes,
some roles that I apply for where my history in government back in the day is applicable, right? So I want to show that span. But there
yes.
are some jobs that I've done in between that have nothing to do with nothing. So me take off them there, because a resume gap can be explained in an interview. During that year I was traveling, this year I was having children, blah blah blah. You understand me? But it is important not necessarily to look at the gap of the years, the span of the years, but which are the ones that fit for the role or the information I'm trying to put forward. Should I take off all of my teaching ones? So for me, I teach. I don't put my teaching stuff in the body of the resume. I just have a list of organizations in which I have offered lecture services. Boom, 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 boom. You can call them and ask them if me teach. So if the role requires training, you know that I have that as a transferable skill. You know what I mean?
Okay, good, good, awesome, thank you. But Christopherson, don't you think that employment gaps, if not accounted for on the resume, can prevent an interview? Talk to me about that, and then talk to me about the don'ts, your top don'ts that a candidate need to watch out for.
Yeah, not necessarily. Everybody have career breaks. Everybody can learn. Everybody can take the time out to maybe master new skills, set or get into some form of activity, or
Yeah.
even just sort out their mental health. Like, come on, everybody's human at the end of the day. So if a company is really hell bent on that career gap, maybe it's just a red flag for you to say, hey, this company is not for me, you know. Because at the end of the day, while they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them. So think about that as well in your process. In terms of don't, maybe one of the first don't is, you know, um not to have a full address on the resume. I believe that's a major security concern, especially for a young woman. Major security concern, especially where persons can scrape your resume from any job board or anything like that that
Mm-hmm.
um, could put you at risk. That's a major one. So whenever we do or revamp at the career doc or any workshops, we try to highlight that major thing. Just remove it. Can just put the parish country. That's it. Even just a country, Jamaica, boom, that's it called today. Depending on how you want to frame a resume for local or international, regional opportunities, right? Because the world is really our oyster at the end of the day. A major don't would be is to jump everything and not use up all the spaces you have on the resume. So think of marrying layout and information together to have it, to craft that story. Layout could be that you're finding maybe a good template on online or some other resume softwares, but the layout without the substance is insufficient, right? It could look good, it could look great, but if the content is not matching, is misaligned, it falls short.
Exactly.
In the same breath, somebody can have great content, a depth of information on their resume, but it's so overwhelming that you want to just trim it up, neat it up, kind of take off certain areas that are not really needed, like Daniel shared, just to give you that personalized aspect. Because the resume is just a little bit about who you are professionally, just to craft your story. But I think those are my major don'ts. Try security, that's a major one. Major one. That's I believe. I'm not sure anybody else could agree, but nonetheless, those are my two takeaways.
Good. So I've heard the suggestion about no address on the resume, and I tend to agree, especially because of security. What would be your suggestion for somebody who is applying to a role that is not in their parish? And as you brought that up, I remember that I rejected an application because of her location. And the resume didn't state that she's willing to relocate. It didn't state the parish that the role was in. And so when I rejected the application, the person called the office and I answered, and she was upset because she said that she needed at least an interview to explain herself, and I had to say, well, I don't have a lot of time. I have 1,000 other resumes to go through, and this particular client didn't want to look at anybody outside of the parish. Because sometimes you give a candidate a job offer, and they decide, boy, the host thing never work out, and all of a sudden the job offer goes down the drain, and you go back to square one. So how do you navigate that then? There's this concern about security. What would be a suggestion for, and it happens quite a lot. Sometimes
Well,
it's
he had said the suggestion, put a disclaimer, willing to relocate, put a type of thing. So, for example, a lot of persons are now into remote work. It could put the location of where you are, maybe country wise, and in bracket, open to remote work. So it gives maybe international clients where you're based, but also the preferences of what you have, or even just sharing what your preferences. You could have a checklist in terms of maybe you want to on-site,
mhm,
remote, hybrid. But at the end of the day, each resume is different. But you did suggest a suggestion earlier, which is good, just to explain yourself on paper. So let's say you're from a different parish, but you're willing to relocate, like, actually in a sense, communicate that. Or even communicate that in a cover letter in the same breath or in the email of one you're applying for, but communicate it so it doesn't become an assumed thing. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Daniel, talk to me about some of the resources where persons can go if they want to. And I'm coming to Christopherson later. We know they can go to the career doc, and I'm pretty sure they can go to Daniel as well. All right. But talk to us about some of the resources that are available to applicants for crafting a resume.
I mean, the truth is that in this age, so much is available. Uh, Google helps you. If you go in Google, you can get a template. You can download templates all over the place. You can um, get information in LinkedIn. So all the different career platforms actually have resume crafting sections that you can go to for assistance. Um, I think even in the employment agency division of the Ministry of Labor, they do that, right? So I think that there are a lot of resources available to help you to craft the resume. I do think though that what should go hand in hand with that is something like what's happening with this GSS career pathway platform. So yes, I'm going to help you to get the resume done well. But apart from putting it on paper, there's a couple of things you need to think about. What are you applying for? Why are you applying for it? What if you don't have the skills for the job? What are the transferable skills that are going to take you there? Because after you put it on paper, if you cannot sell it in the interview, then who's gonna buy it? You understand what I'm saying? So I think that these types of engagements where not only do you have a career advisor, resume writer helping you to draft the actual document, but somebody who is willing to sit with you through the actual mental process of your career trajectory, where you're trying to go. How quickly are you trying to get there? What are the qualifications that you have along the way? And what do you need? How can you supplement those qualifications in a short span of time, in a long span of time, and all of those things, that when you get to the stage of having a conversation with an interviewer, what you have on paper can be backed up, right? And it's not just about the resume. Christopherson just said that thing about the putting using the cover letter as an opportunity to explain things that you didn't get to explain in the resume, and to make very targeted statements about the
Yes.
position you're applying for that you never get to write in your resume. Not every template is going to show you how to make those very targeted statements, especially for nuanced roles and nuanced industries. So I think this GSS career advising platform is an excellent resource. I think more people should use it up. It's actually open to quite a number of people. Age is not a barrier, and it is free to the user. So
There
come
you
on.
go. Make sure you're going online and you're registering to the talent platform so you can take advantage of so many resources. Christopher Son, talk to us about um, what are the top soft skills and hard skills recommended for today's a resume in today's world, and then share how Career Doc can help any potential
Sure.
applicant.
So there are three top soft skills, generally, especially communicated from maybe government, public sector, private sector. One of them is a leadership deficit, right? So the leadership deficit shows that there is no demand for leaders. Demand for leaders in departments, in groups, in small teams, demand for leaders to create ideas and to have a team to galvanize behind that idea. Leadership in the sense of conflict resolution, leadership of just people management, but accountable leadership, right? So that's one. Two, creativity. Creativity not in the sense that you're a painter, artist, but creativity in the sense that you're bringing unlikely topics together to bring value to your organization, especially when they're having issues with maybe financial issues or marketing or anything department wise. or even a sense where creativity that you can look at a job seeker and say, hey, I have this idea that could help your company based off mindset of skill sets, right? So that thinking of that creativity is the next thing. And then lastly, I would say empathy. Empathy from your company, let's say sales, marketing, HR, every department need empathy, even finance, right? And I say empathy in the sense that you're not just listening to somebody, but empathy in the sense that to understand the world is complex and we can create empathy based businesses to make everybody life not just easier but more productive, more fruitful. You want to go to work, you don't feel like you're judging the day to going to work. You feel rewarded at the end of the day at the organization. So you're creating an empathy based system. I believe it trickles down into the next generation. So those are the three skills: leadership. The second would be I can't remember the second one. Wow. But I know empathy. And then second one is, why can't you remember the second one though? Daniel, you want to help me?
It will come back. It will
Creative
come
problem solving is what you're
back.
talking about.
Creativity, yes. And funny enough, that's what I love, creativity. So leadership, creativity, and empathy.
Awesome, awesome stuff. Listen, I hope this is $1 million discussion, and I hope the viewers are taking notes. I hope you are getting ready to write that next resume. I'm not sure if there are any questions. Maybe the producers can help me. If there are any questions on social media that we they would want to answer. Okay, no questions. I'm just gonna ask you to share your final thoughts on the um on this topic, crafting a winning resume. Let's go with you, Daniel.
Well, I think one of the most important things for me is the before you craft the winning resume,
Mhm.
know your brand. That is one thing that I think everybody who is job seeking or has an entrepreneurial spirit should do, and we don't talk about it. What is it you're selling? Who are you? What's your identity? When people come into contact with you, what is your brand? It's not just about looking a job to look a job, because when you get a job just for the purpose of paying bills and making a money, that's when organizations end up with high attrition.
Yes.
You have to know your brand, so you know what you're looking for, you know what value add you have, you know what your trajectory is, you know what the organization has to pour into you so that you can pour into it. And when you know your brand, your resume comes off a little differently, your confidence comes off a little differently, how you're interacting with that recruiter comes off a little different, because there's a self-awareness, a self-identity, and it's easy for me as a recruiter to say, this person is a fit, because after I've ticked off, your resume tells me if you can do the job, the interview tells me if you are a fit for the organization, for the team, for the manager, because all of that contributes to whether or not there's going to be longevity in the relationship. So I really think that we need to spend a little more time not thinking about just the employer's brand, but if your brand is something, and whether or not your brand is aligned with the brand that you're trying to get into a relationship with.
Okay, great. Yes.
So final thing, first of all, you have to like the career that to fix your resume. Because think about it as literal doctors. So similar when you're having the flu, you're sick, you bust your head, you broke your arm, even if you're pregnant, you go to a doctor, you go to an expert to help you with that diagnosis. So think of us as experts. So we have a team of experts, and I call them the silver economy, meaning that old people that really have a wealth of information that really want to help you. So we at the career that augment that information and help you with your career through assessments, through consults, through resume revamps, through interview prep. But the final thing in terms of think of your journey as not being alone. Instead of having a career that ask friends, ask relatives, find mentors to stand on their shoulders so you can see the mistakes they've made. Because at the end of the day, the resume is just one tool of the many tools and techniques you could
Yes.
have, right? Persons can think about improving their LinkedIn so they could enhance their personal brand. People could think about, what, maybe a resume is not ideal for me, but let's create a portfolio of products and services as well. A portfolio of what I offer maybe just to have a identity of who you are. Maybe a job is not for you. Maybe you're an entrepreneur you didn't even know. Maybe you're a creative entrepreneur. Maybe you're part of something bigger that you feel like you're either lost, and it comes with the territory of working on your journey alone. But we have the support. GSS is a great platform in terms of that support that's giving persons access, free access to a group of advisors. So leverage those opportunities as well. And I think at the end of the day is thinking of your journey as not being alone, but being collaborative. If you need help, ask for help. That's the first thing. Ask for help if you need it. Are you not sure how to ask for it? Try to find some way to ask questions to people who you believe are in the same career path that you want to aspire to. Figure out how they did it. You may gonna get no's, but the persistence and the resilience is what matters. Um, and just believe in yourself, bro. You have to just believe, bro. Because at the end of the day, we're all worthy of opportunities. We're all
Absolutely.
worthy of the bountiful riches of these places. So try not to limit ourselves at the end of the day.
Awesome, awesome stuff. Great, great discussion tonight. Madam Producer, we need a part two, three. We haven't even delved into, I mean, the meat of what we can discuss. So we need a part two, three, right? Interviews and all of that. We haven't touched it. LinkedIn is a great area that we even haven't touched on. And sometimes, in fact, whenever I'm doing interviews or I'm scheduling interviews, I do check LinkedIn as well. So, as Christopher mentioned, that is also another area. So there's so many gems that were shared tonight. I'm truly grateful to the panelists, and I hope that the viewers have taken some thought and have taken notes. And again, what resonated tonight is the fact that you can get help. You can get help. There are many resources available if you are interested. So, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a great discussion. The GSS Talent Hub Fireside Chat, and we were talking about crafting a winning resume, right? And so, again, if you have a specific topic that you want us to discuss, don't forget to share your feedback or suggestions to communications_GSS at jamprocorp.com. I hope I got that email address correct. All right. If not, you can reach them on any social media platform. Once again, thank you so much. Follow them on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, which is now X. My Lord, it's now X. So follow them over there as well. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Christopherson. It has been a lovely discussion. All the best. Take care.